Hi, hello, and it's me again, Existing Person 26 here, and we're going to be making an in-depth analysis of every unit in Noblemen 1896. I have pretty much every unit except one, and I'll do my best to make an analysis of each one. If I fail to do it, then go off, because I tried. First up is the prisoner. Every prisoner is melee only, but they have pretty good amount of health, and their regiments are huge, and when you upgrade them, you get reinforcements faster. Now, what are reinforcements? When a unit dies in a regiment, they're replaced by another one so they can keep fighting. This also makes them harder to kill. However, don't attack anyone who has a Tesla rod, because Tesla rods specialize in dealing large amounts of damage to large crowds. So as long as you're backed up, as long as you're backing up your prisoners and they're not attacking someone who's got Tesla rods or artillery backup, then you should be fine. Next up is the Militia, your first range unit that you'll get in the game. They're pretty weak, they don't have a lot of health. They have pretty poor accuracy. They don't do a lot of damage, and they're not very good at melee combat. But if you can get them in close quarters, they can start to rack up kills because there's so many soldiers down there in one time. Well, militia down there at one time that they can put a lot of bullets down range. However, though, they don't really have a whole lot of HP, but they make up for that with regiment size. You can see down there, regiment of 41. Now, there's not actually 41 soldiers down there. It's just like whenever a soldier dies, they're replaced by another one, just like the prisoners, and it keeps replacing them until all 41 soldiers are killed. Now we have our infantry, just like the militia, except they have a much smaller regiment size, more HP, and they do more damage. However, they are a bit slower because they don't run everywhere. They kind of like walk everywhere, as you can see, like how they're walking right now. Even though the militia does that, in the previous clip, in the game, they run around. But infantry just kind of walk around like that, so they're a bit slower, a bit more accurate. So yeah, infantry, again, pretty good at close range, a bit better at mid-range because they have that extra accuracy, but don't use them at long range because they'll never get any kills. Next is the Gardner Gun, your first heavy gun in the game. Now, it's pretty slow, but it's got a lot of HP. See, that's what it does. I had to pause talking so you can see what it does. So it's like a machine gun, basically. It's pretty strong, and its main purpose is to keep soldiers pinned down so they can't go anywhere, which allows your forces to close in on them. They're pretty slow, got a lot of armor, but don't let anyone get close to it, because it doesn't have a melee attack. So any melee units that get close to the Gardner Gun will absolutely destroy it. Next up is Armor Busters. Armor Busters have armor-piercing shotguns, which sounds really strange. I didn't know shotguns were armor-piercing. But anyway, because they've got shotguns, they're pretty limited in range, so they have to get close, but as you level them up, you can get armor for them. They do a pretty good job of piercing armor. You can see they've got a lot of HP, pretty good armor, pretty good piercing. They hit hard, but they suck at melee combat. Shock Troopers, the bane of your existence when you first start the game. These suckers have got some pretty heavy armor, a lot of HP, and that shielded shotgun. So if they're behind cover, good luck killing them. You want to shoot them in the legs because that's not armored. But you can see they're running around. They're pretty quick too. So as long as you keep them out of cover and you shoot their legs, if you don't have any armor-piercing units, or you don't have an armor-piercing gun yourself, then you might be screwed, because shock troopers have some pretty heavy armor. The Pioneer, the ultimate close-range soldier. They don't have any armor, but they also have these. Yeah, submachine guns. Pretty strong. When you first get them, they have shotguns. Still pretty dangerous. They're really fast. They have some pretty good HP. But when you have all 8 of them firing at you with those trench guns, ooh boy, then you better get behind some cover if you're not armored, because they will shred you to pieces. The Parrott Cannon, your first artillery piece. Oh boy, when you get this thing, you'll just want to use it so much. I mean, it's not the best, but I mean, it's a cannon, like, why wouldn't you want it? It's really slow, but as you can see, once you get more armor for it, then it's pretty impossible to kill unless you get around it. Or if you have, like, special units, but we'll go in depth on those later. But Parrott Cannons, they're pretty good for keeping soldiers, behind cover. Great for killing clusters of soldiers. They deal some pretty good damage. They have some pretty good piercing abilities, so they're able to take down, like, some of the vehicles later. Honestly, they're just all around pretty good balanced cannons, and I like them. The Elite. Just like Militia or Infantry, but they have lever actions and are more heavily armored. So they're way better than Infantry in terms of they've got more HP, more damage, more armor. I don't know how stronger they are at melee, but I'm not sure they're very good at melee because they don't have the bayonet. Um, the best way you want to keep these guys alive is like kind of like a mid-range. They're basically mid-range soldiers. They've got pretty good accuracy, and they've got some pretty decent armor. It's not the best armor, so like armor busters will be able to take a toll on them. Just again, like with Militia, don't be stupid with them, and you'll keep them alive. Cavalry. They're very, very fast. Well, I mean, of course, they're on horses. They're just like elites, but way faster. But the problem is that horse. It's got no armor, so if you can shoot the horse, the cavalry's gonna die. I don't know why the soldier doesn't die when the horse dies. But all I'm saying is that cavalry, they're fast, but they're not strong at all. They're very easy targets. Shield infantry. They've got these goofy shields, as you can see, that covers them from only two sides. So their right side and their rear are completely unguarded. They're basically just infantry with these big shields. There's literally almost nothing different. The Sharpshooter. Very good at long range. I mean, of course, they're snipers. However, they're very, very weak. They don't have any armor, they have pretty low HP, and they're not the fastest people ever, and they suck at melee. So, as long as you keep assault units away from sharpshooters, you'll be fine. The Ghoul. They're extremely fast when they're running around, so be careful. They have a lot of HP. They do not have any ranged attacks. Pretty good at melee, I'd say. They've got a nice regiment size of 9, so, I mean, 9 really fast zombies, you don't want them coming at you. They don't have any ranged attacks, but, I mean, they're great at diverting the fire and basically being cannon fodder. The Blunderbuss. It's a modified Parrott Cannon to fire grape shot instead of your normal canister rounds. However, the problem is, though, they're extremely close range, and you need to get really close for them to be effective. And with how slow they are, they're not very effective at all. However, if they do actually get some action, then they will absolutely tear up any non-armored units. They reload super fast, and of course, it's basically like explosive shotgun shells. But otherwise, if they're not lucky, which 9 times out of 10 they aren't very lucky, they won't see any action, and they're just kind of there. The Scout Ship. It's not an actual unit per se. It's more of a support unit. So sometimes in skirmishes it might show up, or in the campaign, if you get one and you have a battle that's close to water where the scout ship is, then it'll kind of like support your army by firing at the enemies from the water. It cannot be killed. It's rather inaccurate. I personally don't like to use these kind of units because they don't really get a lot of kills. The Javelin. Armor-piercing madmen. They're pretty good at piercing units that have like thinner armor, like shock troopers. It makes shock troopers ineffective. It's better than armor busters, however, they themselves don't have any armor. They can't get them any armor. However, when you get them upgraded, you can get them brigand rifles. And brigand rifles with Javelin are pretty good. So all I'm saying is, as long, again, like pretty much every other unarmored unit, as long as you keep them away from melee units, you'll be fine. Dragoons, assault class infantry. They are like prisoners, except they actually have guns. They don't use those guns very often. However, they are pretty good at melee combat. You can get them Tesla rods, which means that they can absolutely shred prisoners if they need to. So as long as you keep them away from like armor-piercing units, you'll be fine. Or like longer-range armor-piercing units, like a unit with an elephant rifle or something, you'll be fine. Because they don't have very good range. Their accuracy with the pistol is god-awful. They hardly hit their shots. However, when it comes to melee, they're pretty good. Gatling guns. Oh boy, don't get me started on Gatling guns. They are infantry killing machines. I'm telling you, they are very good at killing unarmored infantry. They fire really fast. They don't have the best accuracy. You see, watch. Yeah, that's exactly what it does, if you didn't know what a Gatling gun was. They're very strong. Just like the Gardner Gun, they don't have any melee attacks, so keep any melee units away from them. But other than that, they're very good at pinning infantry down. They're very good at killing unarmored infantry. They suck with armored infantry. But other than that, they're just fun to have around. Airships. Just like the scout ship, it's a support unit, which means you can't actually, like, use it, if that makes any sense. So you can't control it. You can't do anything with it. It might appear in skirmish battles, and you can get it in campaign battles. It's like a scout ship, but on land. If it's in a battle, you can't kill it, because you can't hit it, no matter what. You can't do anything to it in a normal battle. Only in the campaign can you kill these suckers. So, I mean, like the scout ship, I don't really like to use them, just because of that. Landships. Ooh boy, landships. Very, very dangerous to go against if you don't have the proper weaponry. They're heavily armored, they have a Gatling gun, and they have 2 autocannons on their side, so they have to turn to their side to be able to actually use those cannons. However, you can cheat the system because they can't hit moving targets because they're constantly turning. They can only really shoot at stationary targets that are hiding behind cover or something, or like slow moving targets. So as long as they can find a good target that's not moving, they'll deal some pretty heavy damage. Next on our list is the steam carriage, which is the first vehicle you unlock. It's only got a Gatling gun, and if you can flank around it to its engine and start shooting it from there, you'll be able to take it down quickly. But otherwise, it's got some pretty decent armor. Honestly, it's not bad. It's pretty good at keeping infantry down. It's basically just like a faster Gatling gun. Agar guns, or however you pronounce it. We'll call them coffee mill machine guns. They're basically like Gardner guns or Gatling guns, but they shoot much slower and hit way harder. They're more accurate too. You'll see what does it. See, the reduced fire rate. That reduced fire rate lets it be more powerful while also being more accurate. But just like any heavy cannon here, don't let any melee units get to it. Assault cavalry, probably in my opinion one of the worst units in the game, because again, like the cavalry, it's got that large unarmored horse, which is basically its weak point. So if anything, it's got to get close to something because that's how it attacks. So once it gets close, it just gets shredded. Assault cavalry is not very good. Tank busters, one of the most dangerous armor-piercing units in the game. They've got that elephant rifle, the 15mm elephant gun, really big gun, as you can see right there. So they're really good at penetrating armor. They're really good at killing tanks. I mean, their name is Tank Buster. Like, come on. They're really good at killing landships, any vehicle. Not to mention, I mean, there's 3 of them. So, just saying, be careful with tank busters, because if you don't kill them quickly, all your armored units will go bye-bye. Whitworth cannons. They're like Parrott cannons, but much, much better. I don't think they're faster. I think they're the same speed. But I think they've got a little bit more HP, more armor. I think it's the same too. They're more accurate. They hit harder. And I just like them more than a Parrott cannon, although in skirmishes you don't get them as much. The upper elite. These guys have given me problems in the past with trying to grind skirmishes for gold. They would like run for cover right as I shot at them, not to mention they've got that machine rifle. They've got the armor. They're very annoying to deal with, especially since later in the game they are used way more, like the enemy is more and more of them. So I just think like once you get a ton of them, that's when they start to put damage on the enemy. But other than that, they're still pretty strong. Engineers, they're pretty important to keep around vehicles because if your vehicles take any damage, they'll be able to fix your vehicles. However, they've only got that machine rifle, which burns through ammo very, very quickly. So, I need to stop saying as long. All I'm saying is that they run out of ammo very quickly, so keep them behind cover. You can get them better machine guns later. And they don't have the best armor either, so you should be fine. The Williams gun. Probably one of the best units, if not the best, in the game. It's like an auto cannon, except it's very, very good at piercing armor. It deals a ton of damage. It's very accurate. Pretty slow shooting, as you can see, but oh my goodness. They will shred your noblemen. They will shred your tanks. They will shred your infantry. They're so good. So if you see the enemy with a Williams gun, kill it as soon as you can. Rifle Knights. Some of the heaviest armored units in the game. Just look at that. I don't even know how they carry it. But anyways, they're just like an upper elite, except they are slower, more HP. And they've got way more armor. They're a real pain to deal with if you don't have any anti-armor weapons. But you can just try. You could try to get behind them or try and shoot them in the head where they don't have armor. But other than that, you're best not approaching them from the front. Saber Knights, just like a Rifle Knight, except they have a little bit more armor, are much faster, and they're an assault class, which means they act like a Dragoon or a prisoner, and that they specialize in melee combat and don't like to use their guns often. It's a support unit. I hate it. Moving on. Airship 2 Electric Boogaloo. Paladins. Ooh boy, Paladins. You can see they've got much more armor than your ordinary knights. And they actually deal more damage to undead units, so ghouls and the vampires that will come up next. They are absolutely good at killing them. But there's only one of them, so if you can nail him with a good anti-armor shot, or basically any armor-piercing bullet will instantly kill him. So if you can nail him with that, he's going to go down. Mortars. It looks like a Parrott Cannon that's been hacked off and put in an angle, which that's pretty much what it is. And it says that it's highly inaccurate, but in all my times of using it, I've never actually had any issues with accuracy. They're very good at killing cannons, like if they have those big shields like before, like with the Parrott Cannon that was in this video, they had those big shields. They're very good at getting over those shields and actually hitting the crew. And they're also very good at shooting over cover and dealing massive splash damage to everyone nearby. The Mark II Landship. It's like a normal Landship, except it's bigger, and unlike the 10-round burst that its cannon has, the Mark II Landship only has 2 shots with a cannon before it has to reload. But, however, that means the Mark II Landship's cannons hit harder and are more accurate. Again, another support unit, not my favorite. Ah, the vampire. I don't even think I need to talk. I just need to let this video explain what it does. Tesla jumpers. They teleport, maybe a little bit too much, because when I got it, it was like teleporting right behind, a little too close to the enemies, and they were getting killed, but they managed to pull through. So I suggest holding them off until the enemy's running low, and then send them after what's left, and then take them out. Tesla protectors. They put a shield around any nearby units, but they can't put a shield on other Tesla protectors. That would be kind of unfair. So they're more of like a support unit on like they're like a support unit that's actually useful on like those boats and the planes, whatever they are. I like these guys. Tesla heavy gunners. There's only one of them in a regiment, but they can have some issues because they shoot a really slow moving projectile, and they've only got 3 shots before they have to reload. But if they do land a hit on an unarmored unit, then say sayonara to it because it's gonna die. And our last unit, the Georgeson Tank. This guy, don't let him die. He is very good. He's faster than all the other vehicles. And when he's driving towards an enemy, he doesn't shoot his Gatling gun like a normal landship. He only fires 1 shot for some reason. But when he gets in range, that's when the chaos ensues, because he's got auto cannons on both sides that shoot really, really fast, and he's got that Gatling gun, so it's just chaos for the enemy. And that about sums it up for this video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't like it, leave a dislike. You don't have to subscribe. I know I didn't do the best job here analyzing all these units, but I mean, I did my best. It's not a huge deal. And if you want, you can get the game and try them out yourself. It might take some time to get them all, but it's an accomplishment if you do. So, with that, have a great day. I'm going to head out.